Welcome to this POSSE training video. In this video, we're going to be covering jobs and objects and how to use them. Now this is going to be a slightly longer video, so at any point feel free to pause and go back if you feel like you missed something. We want to make sure you're getting the most out of the video. Now, for this video, we're going to cover how to create new jobs and objects, how to fill out a screen, how to navigate through jobs, relate customers, or create new ones, and how to duplicate and delete a job or object. Before I go any further, I do want to make sure that we define what jobs and objects are before we keep going, because that's going to be very important. Now, the main screens that you see and work with in POSSE are split into two major groups: jobs and objects. A job is anything in POSSE that has a multi-step workflow and a status. So this is usually represented by building permits, sign permits, master tracks, or requests for investigation are all good examples of a job in POSSE because they have workflow. An object, on the other hand, is a static piece of information that's used to relate to other things. In this case, customers, TMKs, or building approvals are all objects within POSSE. For this video, I'll be demonstrating creating a job by creating a simple plumbing building permit from scratch. So to do that, I'm going to move down to the Create section of the Building Business menu and select the Building Permit option. This will take us right to a brand new building permit. We'll see that it's currently in the starting status. We'll give it a basic job description. And then we're going to go to the Clauses option right here, which contains all of the predefined values that we can add to our job description. In this case, I know I'm doing a plumbing permit, so I'm going to select the little green arrow next to plumbing permit, which is going to add the text on right there. We'll go ahead and hit close out of that, and we'll click save. At this point, the system will create the brand new job, and it will assign us a file number that defines which job we've created here. In this case, A2020-01-0001. With our new job created, next thing we're going to want to do is move to the TMK object tab. This is where we can add the parcel that this job is going to be located on. I'm going to select the magnifying glass on the TMK grid here, which gives me the ability to add an object. In this case, I'll add a TMK. Now from here, I have a few options in the search that pops up for how to find a possible TMK. I could start by just typing an address in and pressing enter, which pulls up a TMK in this instance. I can also just use a TMK number press enter as well, and that will again find a TMK. You can also use the POID if that's the information you have to find your parcel. And again, that works as well. I'll select this TMK as the one I want to use, and then press the OK button. POSSE will load the TMK in, and I'm going to click Save to keep my changes. Next, we're going to want to add a customer. We'll go to the Customers tab, and from here we can do a very similar thing. We'll come to the magnifying glass in the Customers grid, and we're going to add an applicant. This is the person applying for the building permit. Now from here, we can simply type a name or part of a name to try and find the person we're looking for. Type Andy Patterson, and I see him popping up as the first option here. I'll select him as well. And I can also double click this, which is a little bit quicker, and it'll immediately drop them in, and I can hit save. Now that we've added our applicant, we can add some contact info. So we'll just put a phone number here and hit save. So now we have an applicant. But on this particular permit, the applicant won't be the one doing the work. It'll actually be a contractor. So in this case, we're actually going to go back to the drop-down and this time select Contractor Plumbing to add another customer. It's going to pop back up again. Now this time, instead of searching by the contractor's name, I'm going to actually search by their contractor number, which I happen to have. Type that in. The first name that pops up looks good, and we'll hit OK. And we'll hit save. Now the last thing that we want to add is an owner. So we'll go back to the magnifying glass and select the owner relationship. Now we'll just type in the name. Maybe you just want to find my old friend. But it didn't find anyone this time. That's because this customer doesn't exist in the system yet. That's okay. We actually have a new button right here in order to add a brand new customer to the system. Let's do that. Selecting that will bring up a brand new window where I can fill out the details of our brand new customer. We have a last name, first name, and then other information. So we'll put in the last name first, then the first name. We don't need to fill anything else out. The little red star here indicates which is mandatory and which is not mandatory. So I'm going to leave this alone for now. And we'll hit OK. Now this has added a brand new owner that we can't navigate to yet because we haven't saved. If we hit save, it'll create that brand new customer, add them in, and we're good to go. Now, if you ever need to remove a relationship from a grid, maybe this contractor was added in error, we can do that by selecting the relationship with a checkbox on the left, and then selecting the minus option, or the remove option. Hitting that, we'll just pull them out of the grid, and hit save. Now let's move on to the Details tab. From here, we can fill out all of the basic details about this building permit and what's going to be done for the work. You'll notice again that the red stars are next to anything that's mandatory. These are fields that will need to be filled out before the completion of the permit. So let's start filling out these details. And I will be using the tab key to quickly jump into the next field as we go. Start typing a name into here, and we'll be able to quickly filter down to the name we're looking for, in this case Kanani Padekin. I'll press tab a couple of times, gets me down to the contact info, and we'll fill in the same phone number we used last time. For the email address, I'm going to put in patterson@honolulu.gov. And the estimated value of work in this case is about $75,000. We'll enter that there. Next, we'll click down into the occupancy group category. I'll start typing R-3 for residential, and we'll find the one we're looking for. Do the same thing for the occupancy group. And then I'll tab into these radio buttons. Now I can use the arrow keys to select which value I want to use here. In this case, we'll call that private. Tabbed again into the commercial residential, and we'll call this residential. And with all that entered, we'll hit save. Now there's a lot more areas to fill out here, but we don't need those right now, so let's move on to the type of work tab. Now from here, I can just select checkboxes with the cursor, or I can tab through the checkboxes and press spacebar when I find the one that I want. Select a few there, and hit save. And at this point, I could just continue filling out the rest of the tabs with all the other information that I have. But for right now, what we're going to do is look at the new and duplicate options here at the top. So if we were working on a job and we needed to go ahead and create a brand new permit, we can do that from here just by hitting new. Again, it's going to take us right back to that beginning step, and we can start filling out details. But I don't want to do that right now. So I'm actually going to use the back button on my browser to take me right back to where I was. And now it is going to give me this pop-up, which asks me if I want to discard the changes that I've made. It's wondering if I want to keep the new building permit that I created. In this case, I don't. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to take me right back to the building permit we were working on. The other option here is the duplicate option. This will create a brand new building permit, but it'll give all of the details that I filled out thus far copied into the new building permit. Let's try that. I'll hit duplicate, we'll see start, and we'll actually save this one. Now at this point, we'll have the same job description, we'll have the same Team K copied here, and we'll have the same customer relationships and details that we assigned. But in this case, we actually have a brand new file number because it's a whole new permit. It just has the same copied details. So the duplicate option can be very helpful if you need to create a lot of very similar permits quickly. Finally, there's one more button here, and that's the delete button. Normally, you don't have security to delete, but some users in the system do. If that was the case, then using this delete button right here will remove this job from the system. I don't have permissions, so it's grayed out for me. Well, that's going to do it for this video, but let's quickly recap. At first, we talked about creating new jobs and what the difference between a job and an object is. Then we talked about filling out the job description and using description clauses. We talked about adding relationships such as TMKs and customers. And then we also looked at filling out details as well as creating new jobs from the bar above. That's about it. Thanks for